In this section, we're going to talk a little bit about the HTML standard. Standards are rather boring as a topic, so we won't tarry too long on this. We'll just leave enough room for us to say the few things which are relevant to all HTML programmers. Over the years, as HTML evolved, it went through a whole bunch of versions. These versions were not all compatible with each other. In particular, some of them broke backward compatibility. So there were times when if you wrote HTML code, it might stop working with a previous version of an HTML browser. Now, in practice, this wasn't always the end of the world because browsers made a best effort to display HTML always. So in general, even if you wrote badly formed HTML or wrong HTML, for instance, missing closing tags and so on, the browser would do its best to display your page nicely in any case. But even so, this wasn't ideal because it made HTML confusing to work with. What exactly was the standard and what exactly was compliant with that standard? In order to fix this confusion, the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, stepped in and made HTML a living standard. So, HTML now has a living standard. And you'll be forgiven for asking, what exactly does that mean and what are its implications for me as an HTML programmer? Really, all that this means is that there are no more version numbers of HTML after HTML5, and all features that will be added to HTML going forward must be backward compatible. So now you at least have the assurance that if you write HTML which works, it will continue to work. And that's actually quite a big deal because it was not the case in the past. If you write HTML now, your pages, if they adhere to the current standard, will adhere to future standards as well. All of this is fine and dandy, you'll say. What again do you need to do as an HTML programmer? Well, just a couple of very little things. The first is, at the very start of every HTML file, include this line which is highlighted on screen now. Just always include this line. It's a bit of boilerplate code which is prescribed by the World Wide Web Consortium and which tells the browser that you are using standard HTML. Next up, in the metadata section of your page, i.e. within the head section, use a meta tag where you say that the character encoding that you're using is UTF-8. There are a whole bunch of character encodings out there. UTF-8 is the most common. Just specify this and make sure that the browser knows that you know that UTF-8 is the character encoding you have in mind.